Okay, so we're live now. Let me set this up a little bit. There we go. So I couldn't get the live working through the Pages app, which was a bit weird, but I've got it now anyway. So I should be live now. If I am live, you can just leave some comments below to let you know that you can see what's going on. Hi Britain. So Britain's tuned in. So live is working, which is good. So to give a bit of background as to what's going on, obviously been doing sabers for a while now. It's now my full-time occupation, and collected lightsabers from a young age, sort of 11 when I got my first master replicas, and had like the whole collection, but which I got rid of eventually before discovering custom sabers and joining the community, joining the FX Sabers forum in 2013. Now at the time, obviously there was only one person making boards, which was I think obviously Plector Labs was making soundboards. Then you've got NEC making soundboards, all of which were in the market. So those guys, you know, set the bar in terms of soundboards and soundboards quality, and it was great. Like all of these soundboards that people were making, and definitely crazy props to people like Scott and Irv at Plector Labs. Then obviously technology started advancing. I was doing installs, commissions, and buying a lot of these boards and trying to get all the sabers installed that I was doing. And it got to a point where I really wanted access to like a smaller board that had just like basic features, something really simple. And I started looking into even making my own board. This was in like 2014, so I spoke to some electronic engineer that I knew mutually who was doing designs for like Nixie clocks, and was telling him sort of the concept of what I wanted. Because I was doing so many installs and commissions, I'd be like, it was great to have my own board. So we started that project, and it was just going for like two years, like till 2016, 2017. I even had like multiple meetings with him once a week, talking about what I wanted the board to have, what I wanted to do. We made like a big prototype. There was like a big development board that we made that we were testing out, and we got like the SD card talking to the board and sounds and everything, and it was all exciting. Then obviously the open source technology came about, and it had smooth swing and it had all of these cool features, and straight away I was like 2-3 years worth of trying to make something that was just, you know, would make a swing sound and would just power on a Tri-Cree RGB, and then suddenly this, you know, this genius Frederick comes in with his amazing Profi board, not Profi board, his Teensy Saber, and you see it and you're like, flipping heck, this is now going to be completely different. So the project took a halt, and then when I started going full time and setting up the business with parts, just the project was just like a massive roadblock. There was no time to talk to my developer. He was trying to develop his own products because he makes Nixie clocks, and it just went on hold. Then obviously, as I'm dealing with different people in the community, you know, I became good friends with Lewis of 7 Chambers, and he helped me develop projects like the little battery PCBs that I make for the batteries, and helping me make my purple PCBs, and like the rotary connectors for the PCBs helped me with those. And I said to him, you know, I've been dying to make this soundboard that would just essentially do basic stuff, because the majority of the emails that I would get from customers asking for certain things, they said, I just want the lightsaber to play sound, have nice crisp sound, do the LEDs, and that's it. I don't want any of this fancy stuff. So I was like, okay, you know, maybe it's worthwhile looking into this again with Lewis, because Lewis was obviously had good experience in that. So I said we were discussing, I said, we just want something that's just covers the essentials: sound, light, good motion, but was mainly affordable, because as you all know, my push has always been DIY with my store, and one thing that I lacked on the store was my own soundboard to be able to offer like a complete electronics package that I could oversee from start to finish, because it would be my technology, whatever. And, you know, I pitched the idea to Lewis and mentioned to him, you know, let's have something that is super affordable, to the point where this board that I'm talking about right now is going to be like $40. That's going to be the price of the board. So about £32 That was the goal. Like a £30 board that would be colour changing, high quality 16-bit sound, low latency, and just be able to drive NeoPixels as well as LEDs, so that the people who are getting into the hobby and are looking to join the hobby can start off with a base of something that doesn't cost them too much money, works right out of the box. You don't have to do no programming, don't have to download any software. You get it, it works out of the box. You've got your sound font on there. It's got smooth swing on there as well. So great motion, powers NeoPixel LEDs, both WS2812, and it has support for APA 102C strips. Full RGB color mix, and if you want to use a tri-cree, it does both. 16-bit sound, like I said, low latency, just the basics. So it's got one font on there. Now the cool thing is that after discussion, we're offering the board that can be updated with firmware as well. So you just drop the bin files into the SD card and it can update the firmware from there. Because that's one thing that I do believe in, is just being able to update your board without having to buy a new board. So we had the samples finished and made, and like the first iteration, this is the version 1.2. So we had the version 1, we made some firmware changes, and I've got obviously the prototype here now. So I've just got a KRS hilt to sort of demo this. Let me show you the board for a start. Oh, the board's called VERSO. So at first we were going to call it just the Essential Soundboard, but this one's called VERSO. So this is just a basic chassis that I've done with a 27mm speaker, but there's the board right there. So it's an STM32 base board. It's 30mm by 19mm, really tiny. Obviously when I put the full batch into production, it will be black and gold, but that's the prototype there. It's a really tiny board. It will fit in most hilts, well, probably all of them, being 30 by 19. And I'm so happy with how it come out, because it has deep sleep, has the smooth swing, has clash effects, swing effects, and we can just throw that back on there. So right now it's in sleep mode. It draws half a milliamp when it's off. So you tap this to turn it on. So the sound font courtesy of Jesse. So Jesse knows that knew about this early, and he really helped develop some cool sound fonts for this. So we've got NeoPixel PCB in there, and drop the blade in. Like I said, does RGB tri-crees as well, and so you got the smooth swing. So that really responsive swing motion. Clash. So you can really hear that low latency there. And obviously people wanted on the fly color change. So you double tap the button. Yellow, blue, royal blue, purple. You just double tap the board and that's it. Obviously if you want a mute function as well, so you just hold the power down, hold the button whilst the blade is off. That lets you know that it's entered the mute mode, and you've got mute mode. So if you're doing combat sabers, something like that, and you're in the middle of a class, whatever, you know, you don't want to have the sound playing, you can just have a very quick to enter mute mode. Now the features on the Saber are all configurable via the SD card. You don't need to do any programming whatsoever. There's a config inside the SD card. You can adjust the retraction speed, ignition speed, the volume, so many configurations of, you know, the parameters of the Saber. So, like I said, the goal was to be able to offer something outside of the box. It works straight away. You connect it, sound plays everything. And it's super easy to solder. Really nice solder pads. You know, nice big square ones. Basically, it was for beginners to get into this hobby, because without being able to get people into the hobby, they can't see how great it is. And then when you've got these other boards like Profi open source, you've got NEC's higher tier boards with extra features, when you've got the CFX come in, they can then move on to those boards and move on to the higher stuff where they can power. This does have an accent LED pad, but you know, they can look into boards with more accent LED pads to make more complex builds. Because I've said to anyone who's known me long in this hobby will know that I have always said my main goal in this entire thing was to be able to get people into the hobby. Because right now so much stuff has been going on that puts people off joining this hobby and getting into it. And you know, it's not just the fact that it's lightsabers or Star Wars. You know, in this hobby you learn about engineering, design, electronics, so many things that are useful skills to have these days, and a hobby like this can teach you a lot of that stuff. So this is the VERSO soundboard. It's what I really hope is going to bring the hobby you know, to more people and make it available to more people. Being able to get a board that's £30 or $40, £30, you get a battery that's like £10, battery holder. I mean, you can have the electronics kit for a basic hilt for like less than £75, like easily. You get I mean, and you can power it with just single LEDs as well. So, you know, I'm going to be doing tutorials on how to use the board, on how to solder the board, and just get more and more people into this hobby and get them started where they're not really... Because right now, the most affordable board on the market is a Profi, and you require some, you know, setup and stuff like that. So over time, I'm hoping that this board will enable those people to get into it, start getting excited about the hobby, and then move on to other stuff and move on to more complex boards. So definitely have to thank Lewis for helping me bring this project to the finishing stages and to have it ready to go very soon. It will be ready very soon. You know, we're just working out some kinks. We're already drafting up the scope, the definition scope for the next firmware iteration to add blaster effects, multiple sound fonts, because it's got one sound font as a default. We've also got some other cool stuff we want to add, like right now if it's low battery, it's not telling you that it's got low battery. It's STM32 RON, I just saw that. So we're going to add the low battery on there. And yeah, because this was obviously a huge undertaking to be able to do something like this, because creating embedded systems isn't easy, because this was created from scratch. I'm not one to not give credit where credit's due. Obviously the smooth swing algorithms thanks to Thexter, but this has been a scratch project. So obviously there are resources out there that can help with the process. So it's pretty interesting stuff, like dealing with the engineer and learning about it more, because I'm not a master electronics engineer in terms of that. Lewis knows a lot more than me. I'm going to be offering these and making these as standalone boards. Because Lewis helped so much, he's going to be offering them in a different format, which he will be discussing at a later date once he has his prototypes ready for what he has planned for this. So it's all very exciting, I think, anyway. I know that there's other boards coming out and stuff. I'm still deeply in love with the Profi situation, the open sourceness, and I'll still use Profis anyway. But for me, this is targeting those people who want to join the hobby and are a bit put off with certain options that are there, such as, you know, your budget for getting into a hobby needs to start small. So there's a lot of people, you know, they can put up £30 worth towards a soundboard that works straight out the box, and they haven't got to be too concerned if something goes wrong. So I will be offering full kits, Neil. I just saw your comment. There will be options to buy everything from one place. That was the biggest factor, is that I could have the store ready to offer full kits, so you don't have to go around looking for parts. You can just buy it with an electronics kit added, yes or no. Because as you know, the chassis are being offered now, and I'm pretty much got everything except for a steady supply of boards, or my own board that I can be in control of. So there will be more information coming about this soon. I thought I would show it off so you guys can see. I'm really happy with it. See, it's in sleep mode now, so to wake it up, you just... and it's awake again. So, because for me, even when I show off the sabers that I've got, I turn them on, quickly show them around, and I turn them off. So, yeah. If anyone's got any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'm going to be showing more stuff as time goes on, and then I'll have an official release date for when they're going to be available, and I'll make an initial batch of them for people to try. I'll obviously send some out for people to try free of charge. I'm not going to charge those guys. I already have in mind who I want to be sending these to for them to try. People who are good beta testers that I'm aware of already. And yeah, I look forward to showing more. So it's quite an exciting stage for me. I've always wanted to have my own soundboard that I could be in control of. And it's the start of something new, I guess. So thanks everyone for watching. I'll try and answer some of the questions that have been left in the comments. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this and have a nice weekend.